Most people's life stories are lost forever, but yours doesn't have to be. Good evening. For this show of life stories, I am thrilled to be able to interview Mona Somerville. And what was your maiden name, Mona?
Whittier.
Whittier. And where were you born?
In Boston.
And how many
in
people?
a hotel. In a hotel.
In a hospital.
In a hospital.
Okay. You've lived most of your life where?
In Everett.
In Everett. And you had two older brothers?
Oh, I did.
Yeah. You want to tell a little bit about them? I know one of them was very famous, lived in Washington, right?
Before he was in Washington, when when I was a little girl, he was writing a play, and they had it down my grandmother's cellar, and they had me sitting on the steps to watch this play. And the dog, Toby, sat beside me. And it was a very nice play that went on. And after the play was over, my brother said, "What did you think of the scenery?" And I didn't know enough to look at the scenery, and it seems like he had spent days fixing all this scenery to go with this play. But to my knowledge, that was the first play he ever wrote. He wrote 2 plays after that for the church. One of them was Galloping Goldfish, and they made a lot of money for the 2 different churches. The one church went over in Melrose, they wanted it, and they went over there and put it on over there. And
where was the other church?
And the other church was the Glendale Methodist Church.
Oh.
That was where they raised their money on that play.
And then and your brother, when he grew up, he became something to do with the VFA or
With what?
No, the veterans. Was that?
Well, actually, he ran for office and got elected, and he was elected twice. They told me long after. I thought he was lieutenant governor.
He was the lieutenant governor of Massachusetts?
Yes. I was in there. I saw in his office. And shall I tell you a secret?
Yes.
His secretary, who I knew very well, and she's gone now, told me when I saw his office, "Long as you have apples in the bottom drawer, you won't lose your job." So I had an idea that every little while my brother was eating an apple because the apples were there.
Oh.
They put her in another hospital connected with that, and she passed away. She was a wonderful girl. She was head of the women's group in Boston.
So then your brother went on to be in Washington.
Oh,
what was his job?
My brother ran for mayor in Everett and lost.
Oh, really?
He ran for mayor and lost. He ran for governor and lost.
Oh.
But President Eisenhower appointed him head of the whole Veterans Administration of United States.
Wow. Wow, that's
and
a very
that was by President Eisenhower.
Wow.
we went on, of course, you know, and saw all this, what you see on the television. We saw it all, you know, and it was pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Want me to tell you a little secret?
Yes.
We were staying at their house to get ready, you know, and everything, and the girls, both of my brothers with the twins, and so the girls were there, and my daughter-in-law was busy getting ready, and one of the girls said, "I only have one mitten, one glove." And my granddaughter says to her, "Give her yours, Lucille," or whatever. And so they they went with each one had a glove to go with. I thought that was smart and good. And little did they know that each one was going with, I mean, you know, gloves were important in those days. I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
Okay, well, what else we'd like to talk about is your career. You had a fascinating career. When you were young, you started out in dance, correct?
Right.
And so why don't you tell us a bit about how you got started in dance and...
Well, Helen Dunley lived around the corner, and she was having dancing going on in her backyard, and she asked my mother if I could go and do it, and my mother said yes. But before that, my mother had taken me to Boston because my mother wanted me to have the best. And I had Miss Boone, and she was a wonderful teacher. I just loved her. She had an adopted daughter, Norma, and I always wished my name was Norma instead of Mona because she was so lovely. But anyway,
I think we all do that when we're young.
when I coming home from school, I did the cartwheels all the way home. And I could because I was properly dressed for them.
And who dressed you?
Oh, my grandmother was a dressmaker. And I might say everything that I wore was what she had made. I mean, like the slacks or my skirt and my top and my hat and my jacket, they were corduroy, and they matched, everything was matched. And of course, at that point, I had gorgeous fabrics, you know, silk, and oh, I can't tell you all my things were, but I didn't know that I was different than everybody else and that I looked a bit different because I had all these beautiful things on me. I mean, the jumper had squares on it that was a wool, and it was like pink and green, and pink and green the wool was, and it was so beautiful. Everything was beautiful that I had. And I mean,
and why were you able to do cartwheels and other kids couldn't?
Well, I could do cartwheels because when my grandmother made the jumper, she also made underpants out of the same fabric. So when I did the cartwheel and I'm upside down, I looked the same as I did this way. So it didn't show my underwear or anything, didn't show. But you see, I had it all. The other poor kids, if they did that, their underwear would show, and their underwear was white. And so they didn't have the pleasure that I had. And as I say, I had a good time coming home.
And this grandmother that made all these clothes, you said she had a
dog, Toby, huh?
Your grandmother that had the millinery shop?
Oh, she did. in is it Park Square?
Copley.
Copley Square. The Copley Plaza is what I'm trying to say. Is on this block, and my grandmother's was, I can't remember who the name of that building right there was, where her shop was. And they made all these wedding gowns and things for Chestnut Hill, you know, up where the State House is. Because my mother said that they would send somebody up to deliver it. And we danced, a group of us danced in the Copley Plaza, I suppose because we were so close to it that they let us. And
so your mother, going back to when you started out dancing, your mother took you to Boston?
Oh, yes, my mother took me. My mother wanted the best for me, and so she took me to the New England Conservatory of Music. Now, I went there for Madame Mosqueda.
What a wonderful name.
It was, what was I going to tell you about that?
Madame Mosqueda?
Yes. I went there for ballet, not for instruments. But when we walked through the halls and the doors were like Venetian blind, you would hear all this gorgeous music, you know. And we danced right on the stage of the New England Conservatory of Music. We danced right on the stage. And just about a year ago, Bill Forrest took us to see the government put a band,
put a
whole band on that stage. And he took us in to see that. And I thought it was pretty much interesting to think that after so many years, I came back to that stage.
And you had danced on that stage.
Right. Yeah.
So after learning to dance there, how did you get into your career of dancing in theater in Boston? How did that happen?
Well, like everybody else, the time came when you had to work. And I had to work. And I opened the newspaper, and the Globe, the Globe, had a whole page of, I was going to say recipes, and I don't mean recipes.
You mean job applications?
Yes, and classified ads.
Classified ads.
And so I came to one that said, needed a teacher to teach dancing, no experience necessary. I said, that's for me. And so in I went, and I got the job. And I was busy as a bee. I liked the people and that came, and I taught them how to dance because they taught me what they wanted me to teach. And there was Carla, what was that? There was one girl there that was very nice to me. She had a house on Beacon Hill, and I went and stayed with her overnight and stuff. We had a nice time. She was friendly with a minister, and I went to that church there. But anyway, it's
and why did you leave there?
Oh, well, as I say, I was busy teaching these people how to dance. And I mean, we had the graphophone and the records, and you played the same ones over and over and over, and people did how to dance. And I mean, I was important. I mean, it was important that I showed them and knew how to do it. And you know, left hand right and right hand left, left, right, left on right, and so forth. But anyway, I was doing fine. Actually, there was one across the street. They took me over. I thought I'd make a buck extra more over there than I would here. But I got back over here because I didn't like the way they taught over there. But all of a sudden, my brother found out that the one that was running the dancing class, school, had been molested children or a woman or something, and he'd been in jail for it, or he'd been in something, whatever, about it, which he was a homely looking man with mustache, and I mean, he was just a homely person, but it had nothing to do with me. I mean, I taught somebody how to dance, and the people kept coming, and I kept teaching them, but once my brother told me something was wrong, that was no place for me. I couldn't, I had to get out of there, you know, I mean.
And when
And
you
so-
left there, what did you do? Where
What?
did you go after that? After you left that?
I don't know, I probably went home and started taking care of my daughter or whatever.
Oh, you were working there while you were married?
Oh, sure, working all the time.
Okay. And so how did
I
you?
even danced at the, where is it? Corner of Washington Street and the,
Oh, the theaters in.
oh,
But so you, how did you end up dancing in all those theaters? You see ads in the paper, or did you? I think you told me that there was.
yes, there was a man that, this woman,
Barbara
No.
Walters,
no, not Barbara Walters,
her father.
but yes, her father. But I think maybe was a woman from the dancing school
Mm-hmm.
that got us to this manager.
Uh-huh.
And this manager took care of the whole of Boston. He entered, you know, he lined up everything that was to be.
He was
And
in,
so
yeah.
they had us to that group, and I mean, I notice when you put on the television now, you see a whole group dancing and everything. And that's, when I say I danced in every theater in Boston, I did, but not always alone. It could have been with a whole group.
A chorus.
And so, of course,
Yeah.
yes, and everything. And as I say, it was a wonderful thing. What's the name of that theater on the corner that everybody knows?
I guess I
A
don't.
day ago I could have told you, but now when I want to tell you, I can't. You all know. What's the theater there?
Well, anyway, so also I know that you ended up going to Florida. Is that what you said? You ended up.
Oh, well, you see, dancing in, I say dancing in Boston, any club or anything in Boston comes to an end in the spring. And so I have no job now in the spring, but a friend of mine told me that he knew where there was a job out to Silas 10 Acres being a cigarette girl. Well, I mean, there's a job, right? You didn't matter whether you danced or you didn't dance, you got the job. So I went out there. I ended up, I stayed in a hotel, a woman's house, Mrs. Anderson's house, down the street. And I there were big church, groups like Harvard and all of them came to Silas 10 Acres like on Saturday night after the ball games. And
you were a
they were
cigarette
big.
girl?
That had a, what do you call it, a wall around here, and you know, the, what do you call it when you want to say, when I want to say it I can't. Clubs, not clubs, but what are they? Everybody was sitting in there.
Oh, auditorium seats?
Yeah, and it's funny because two brothers ran that, owned that Silas 10 Acres. They did food after that too, but they came, the mother and father and the two children came, and they're sitting in one of the booths. The booths, all the booths.
Booths.
They're
Okay.
sitting in the booth, getting to waiting on that. You see, on the weekends it was a big thing. And I hear the little boy say, "Oh, I'm going to have lobster," or whatever he wanted, you know. And the father speaks up and says, "No, you're not. That's very expensive right now." And I never forgot it. He owned the place, and it was too expensive for the
For
little
his
boy
to have it.
that.
Oh, wow.
But he didn't mind telling the little boy either. I mean, some of us, we go ahead and get it for the kid, whether we got the money to pay for it or not. You know, we stretched to do it. But you know, the funny things that you remember.
That is, yes, that he had all that money and he wouldn't let him have it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
She was. They were very serious. That couple. The other couple were very, you know, friendly.
uh-huh.
The two separate, entirely different color.
How long do you know? Remember how long you worked there before you went to Florida?
Oh, well, come fall. I mean.
Oh, you had to give it up.
Yeah, you had to give up, and that's when I went to Florida. But I mean, I went 3 or 4 times. Maybe I worked out to Silas 10 Acres.
And where did you work in Florida?
The Dempsey Vanderbilt.
Oh.
That was, I couldn't say that a while ago.
Yeah.
The Dempsey.
And you've also
I also worked at Howard Johnson's there, and that was the first time they had built a Howard Johnson there.
Well, listen, we've come to the end of our show. It's been very exciting.
Tell me what you like, what you want from me. If it's on tonight,